as the defenders, you can really actually try to contest a lot of those walls that are crucial when holding the site. You don't have to work around knowing that a wall is going to be opened up necessarily, depending on the wall, of course.
And a lot of teams are also using Maverick to just break apart that metal panel so that it falls off, the reinforcement is gone, and then it ends up being a soft wall on the other side. For those of you who are not familiar with that Maverick trick, as we now see both a Monty and an Echo ban come out from Immortals, no surprise, Echo is the most banned defender, and that pick rate will continue. So, and then there you go, we'll also see a Maestro go. So basically what I was pointing out about this Maverick strategy is that you can actually bring Maverick as your singular hard breacher on a lot of these sites, especially CCTV cache and then the gym bedroom side. Why? Because what you do as Maverick is you just cut a line along the top and the bottom of the reinforcement, and then that metal sheet, it just falls right off. And then you can either sledge it, you can ash charge it, you can shoot through it, you can Zofia it, you can buck through it. It basically gives you a free avenue into the site. Now with Maverick being banned, obviously, it's going to require a bit more flexibility on the attacker's lineup, especially when it comes to hard breach, as Thermite and Hibana will come out for Immortals. No surprise there with the Thermite, but Hibana, a low pick rate. You bring her, why? Because you assume most teams will start downstairs on Church Arsenal. You're going to need lots of hard destruction on the 3 drop hatches, possible church wall, possible dirt wall, etc.
Often, this is one of those sites that you find reinforcements to be, well, not in great supply. You only have the 10, and you need to use them as wisely as possible. Of course, you have to commit 3 of them minimal to the drop downs, and that's going to give you a good layer of defense. Force the hard destruction, especially considering one of the hard destructors is banned out. That's going to be something you'll see probably done here by Ninjas in Pyjamas. Then you have to worry about, okay, are they going to rush down main stairs into Armory? Are they going to come in through Dirt Tunnel? Do we even want to worry about Dirt Tunnel? Are we going to treat it as a foregone conclusion that it will be opened up? Are we going to fully reinforce Church Wall? We're going to use mirror windows on Church Wall to try and contest the bottom of main stairs. You know, thinking about your reinforcements on some sites, not as essential as others, but here it is very important. Julio is going to be going for a 3 reinforced church wall and simply putting a mirror window to likely prep for a C4 that can land at the bottom of main stairs where you see the castle playing right now. Lots of contesting of the main stairs here for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Not 1, but 2 players. Hino's going to fall back. Kamikaze looks like just there to cover the flank. Immortals trying to seize the opportunity. They're quick into the building, and they will have full control here, establishing there's likely not to be any roamers due to the way that their opponents were playing on those main stairs, and will just simply take it for granted before they fully drone out the top floor.
Not a surprise to see teams forego having any roamers here on Clubhouse. Obviously, the reason behind that being that you can very safely control the map and still have sufficient room to not stack up on one another when playing on the basement. It's a big enough site that you can essentially anticipate that the attackers are going to try to take that first floor map control and then push you. You don't really need to worry about rotating, etc. The sites are more than big enough. I am a little intrigued here to not see a Kaid in play, because there are a number of teams that have ran him on this basement site to be able to control the hatches and not have to worry about possibly losing that kitchen hatch, because you don't need to impact trick it if you can put Kaid in such a position and know that your opponents aren't likely going to be running either a Twitch or a Thatcher. As you can see on Immortals' side, there's no opportunity that this team has to take an Electric Claw out of the equation should Nip chose to run one.
Yeah, it's a curious decision, that's for sure, Parker, and you got to wonder why Bandit and not Kaid. You know, you're getting similar utility in different locations, but clearly the drops are going to be a little bit more important on this site. It's likely that we might see a C4 from the Bandit. He just wants the Bandit trick the church wall so that he doesn't have to worry about pressure coming into the bomb site. And he's doing that right now. He might not be able to do it for long, as Cyber, using Glass, will be contesting through the smoke.
See, this castle wall that just got taken down by Cyber, who's now inching his way into church, looking for the very first kill, sees the translucent or the yellow fluorescent color of Julio there, and he ultimately falls to a C4 that gets tossed out from Julio. So a really bad play from Cyber to go on in with very minimal support. He had PX not too far off, but there's a beautiful angle being held from Kamikaze, who'll get finished off by Bullet, and the Nomad will just walk right in. Navi's now has control of Church, but there's 2 bodies, and he's unable to capitalize on either of them. He does quite a bit of damage, but as you can see from Ninja's side, really haven't lost all that much. Immortals really languishing here as they're now going to have to go for a double push through Moto inside a church. Wog is blind all the way in dirt. There's lots of coverage from Nip. But this is going to get really hairy for Immortals. They're running out of time. Their push is going to have to come in. They've got smoke. M-King is in. He's planting. And Immortals opting for the kitchen push. Their Bullet takes out Wog in the second pick for Immortals. And down goes Pino now. Bullet with 3 kills. This Nomad is just hard holding this angle over top of the diffuser. And Nip will now have to battle from behind. They've lost control. They stacked up too hard. There's M-King to take out Julio. And as you mentioned, the Bandit will have to try to aggress on in a bit slowly. But it's Navi's there to cut him down. What a hold from Immortals and a good read after realizing there was no way that they were going to be able to take that church wall. They relocate, and it's Wog to try to stop Immortals, and he can't do it. After that, complete control for them, all over on that Arsenal side.
The mistake there was Kamikaze, opening up the Arsenal wall, trying to get an aggressive angle. He took down PX, and that's great. That's fantastic. But he opened up an avenue directly into sight. And as soon as the refrag came from Bullet and control of Arsenal was well in hand for Immortals, they realized, hey, Ninjas in Pyjamas are focusing way too intensely on holding Church. Let's just go somewhere else. And, it worked out great for Immortals. Able to establish control, plant in the last dying seconds of the round, and win in the post plant. So good job there to Immortals. A little bit of a mistake there from Kamikaze. I see why he was trying to seize the opportunity, though it should not have been committed to if he didn't have anyone to support him should he fall. Now, that is as it is, and we're moving on to the second round. Ninjas in Pyjamas have decided to shift their focus upstairs, and they'll be starting top floor on Jim instead of Cash.
Ninjas in Pyjamas were the team that banned out Maverick, and he would have been an incredibly strong operator to push that bandit off of the wall inside a church. Now, for the second round in a row, Immortals might be confronting a bandit tricking Psycho, which means that Immortals, without a Thatcher, will struggle mightily to be able to move this utility off of the defender's side. Now, a Maverick would be crucial here and would do a great job at being able to poke holes in the reinforcement and stop Ninjas in Pyjamas from hard holding those reinforced walls.
It looks like we don't have a shield for the bandit, but instead a double castle barricade, possibly one on the doorway and one on the window. It's an interesting setup here from Ninjas in Pyjamas, but it is still potentially very exposed. Luckily for Ninjas in Pyjamas, there is not a Zofia, nor is there an Ashe, so a lot of that explosive counter castle utility just isn't there.
There's no explosives at all on the side of Immortals.
Yeah.
If you look, the only thing that they have from any long range is going to be the Hibana. Because, you know, you've got a Claymore on Bullet. You look at the Twitch of Navi's. He can run a Claymore or Breaching. He doesn't really need to do that much, though. If he's just going to walk right in and kill Psycho, he's right up at the top of the stairs. And now this has completely opened up the Jacuzzi wall, which is going to allow completely unfettered access for Immortals to walk right in.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the million-dollar question, how do we deal with a bandit tricking that wall? We don't have a Maverick. We can't take out the castle barricades. Walk up main stairs, says Psycho, and there goes Bandit. Wow, very surprising to see the way that that played out. A huge mistake from Ninjas in Pyjamas. I believe it was Wag's job to hold on to those main stairs, and he just, well, didn't make it happen right there. Unfortunate.
That is a misplay from Ninjas in Pyjamas to not have somebody watching that angle. And the next part of this defense that Immortals will encounter will go down. And that's going to be that bathroom wall that you see the Xkaros go off on. This Twitch of Navi's is doing so much work. He looked to pick up his third kill, but it's Bullet who will snag it away at the very last second. Kamikaze trades off on a Navi's before he is destroyed by Cyber. This is going to force Pino and back into the site. He's the last member left. He'll get an impactless frag on Cyber, and as he starts to make his ascent up those stairs, well, he's going to be pushed right back down by PX. It's a great recovery from Immortals. And now it's going to be 2 rounds for them as well. All hinging upon that Twitch, getting the intel. There's a completely free access point for me to walk up these stairs and be able to take the bandit down without anybody knowing, and then immediately get the hell out of Dodge. And that's exactly what Navi's did. Played very well, and also really masking the fact that a Maverick and a lack of a Thatcher would hurt any attacker's push on that wall. You read into it and realize, hey, we don't really need utility if we can just take the fight and be aggressive, get the kill, and then immediately leave.
Yeah, Psycho, unfortunate victim there in that round. You're right, and it was a good read, as you say. But you gotta imagine, the way that that was set up, Ninjas in Pyjamas had every advantage going into the round. All they needed to do was protect their bandit for maybe a minute, minute and a half, allow him to bandit trick. The utility was in their favor, the setup was in their favor, and, well, Navi's walks up main stairs. Unfortunate there for Ninjas in Pyjamas, unfortunate for Psycho. I'm sure he was not expecting that. Nip are going to go back down to the bottom floor here. And well, they failed at the first attempt, as you can clearly see on the scoreboard. And attempt number 2, hopefully for them, going to look a little bit better. Last time, it was a small mistake from the castle of Kamikaze, opening up that arsenal wall and giving another avenue to the attackers when they seemed completely locked out of church. This time, he's going to switch up roles and go on to Kaid, and that's going to allow him to trick those drop-downs, or at least one specific drop-down, likely the Arsenal one.
I think that's a smart choice from Ninjas in Pyjamas. They really haven't been able to do all that much here to stop Immortals, and if Immortals hadn't made the right call to rotate on over to the armory side of the basement, it was almost an impossible task for them to be able to push Church. You know, you've got a mirror window there, you've got an active bandit tricking, you have no Thatcher, you have no Twitch. How are you going to be able to shake those bandit batteries off? Well, they allowed Cyber to just waltz right in, and instead of taking out the bandit batteries, he went for the engagement with the Mira and died very early on. It was a bit of a suspect choice by the Glaz, because that could have been some utility that the Glaz would have been able to get, and essentially dislodged the remaining defenders from Nip who were playing inside a church, but that's for another day. Ultimately, Immortals read that very correctly.
Wax trying to contest dirt, it looks like, or at least deny destruction of the Kaid. Now, it is up high on the wall, so I think he's trying to bait right now. It's going to be an Ash charge, though, and there is no ADS from the Jaeger in here, so Wag can't really do anything about this. This is a discussion that actually came up when Kaid was released, is that you can pretty much deny the dirt tunnel if you play it right. One ADS there, and the attacking team would have been pretty much completely locked out there, or at least they would have had to waste a bunch of utility. But unfortunately, the ADS not placed from Eno.
One of the best anti-denial operators that you have is Thatcher, and hasn't been ran by Immortals through these 3 rounds, so Immortals is still managing to put this together without probably the most helpful tool that you could have in these circumstances. Now, a lot of people don't realize that shooting an Ash charge will blow up an Electroclaw, but if that Ash charge hits the electrified wall destroys the Ash charge before it can go off.
Yeah.
You need to be good with your aim on it. Lucky for Immortals, they were good enough, and now they'll have free access to Dirt Tunnel, as we saw, which has forced Wog all the way back. Nobody's really lost any HP here, though. As I say that, Wog does find Navi's. That was in the Dirt Tunnel. Another body is going to be posted not too far off. It's a flashbang that will blind Wog, and it'll be a very free kill. It very swiftly traded off, and Ninjas in Pyjamas showing great signs of life. As they pick up 2 kills, Cyber also falls, leaving just the Hibana and the Nomad as the last 2 remaining attackers. This is a good opportunity for Nip to be able to get their very first round victory, but PX is going to do his darndest to prevent that. Bullet is there as well, and the advantage that was in favor of Nip will fall. Oh! Just as Wog will. Beautiful double play from Psycho to read into Bullet, and there wasn't much left for him to deal with on PX, as this is a very good flick and information that was being handed on over to Psycho, as he is just an absolute monster in that round to be able to keep Nip in it. It'll be the very first defensive victory for Ninjas in Pyjamas. It will strike that church site off for the next 2 rounds at least, forcing Nip to defend elsewhere.
Looked like Immortals was going to recover that round once again, but luckily Psycho found himself in the right place at the right time and able to get that double kill to lock out the round. Very impressively done. Now, finally, you say, having defended the bottom floor successfully, Nip are going to try somewhere else, and it'll be their 3rd bomb site. Looks like Cash. 3rd bomb site in terms of variety, 4th total defense, and, well, Jim didn't work out so great, but Cash without a Maverick in play, this is definitely looking pretty winnable for Nip, if they can hold their advantage, because we've seen Ninjas in Pyjamas having a strong advantage in a round strategically before. We talked about on the Jim defense, and it's fallen apart for them. Even on their first attempt at defending the basement, it's the same story. Immortals somehow find the opportunity and seize upon it, able to regain control of a round. will they be able to continue with that magic?
Immortals will run the exact same lineup they just ran on the last round. They will forego the Twitch on all rounds, but that second round, they will just go with the Ashe now. Navi's is a good player on any operator you put him on. It's no surprise to see him play both Twitch and Ashe, both of whom probably have access to two of the best guns in the entire game. You give a player like that a good gun, and he's going to make anybody on the opposite team pay for it. And that's exactly what he's done through 3 rounds so far. Also worth noting that Nip has been essentially paralyzed by the fact that there is a Nomad on the board in place of Bullet. You can hear a very early air jab goes off, and with a site like Cache and CCTV, as an attacker, you're most going to be worried about flanks on the exterior of the building. You put one of those air jabs, or even 2 of those air jabs, on one of the windows over on the gym or master side of things, it's going to make it a lot more difficult for the defenders to try to retake should they lose control of the site. That means that Nip is going to be far less flexible in the way that they establish themselves here through the mid-round and through a possible execute that will come out from Immortals.
You know, playing inside of Garage, it's common to see the Doc on this position. He doesn't have any ADS, so he's a little bit exposed. He won't be able to deal with those smokes that'll be throwing in through the main garage. Maybe Glass will go for a challenge. Kamikaze trying to creep up on Navi's by blue stairs. He's actually found a window here, but Psycho is going to get the kill before he can even seize upon that opportunity. Psycho using an angle there from above. Beautiful, beautiful destruction just underneath his wall.
That was double duty from Psycho as well, as he was trying to hold the wall, ensuring that no hard destruction was going to go off from Immortals. But I mean, you can at least get the kill onto Navi's. Still tons of utility on Immortals' side, with the Ashe being the only member of your team that you've lost. You've still got all that hard destruction, you've still got the Glass. And as you mentioned, no ADS means that no air jabs and no smokes from Glass will be caught out. So those will be free to just toss on in and not really worry all that much about Nip denying your utility.
Kamikaze at the top of blue stairs is huge because Immortals clearly are not aware of the position he's playing right now. They haven't droned out the base. There's going to be an air jab placed at the bottom of Cache stairs, but that might not actually catch blue stairs door. M-King takes out Kamikaze, though. That's a really big hit. Kamikaze was the one on flank and now no longer. In goes Glaz, and the smoke is covering him, but he's all the way up the stairs, and Psycho can challenge now. That's the second kill in the round for Psycho. He's really been fragging out in these last couple rounds. Still garage control in favor of Ninjas and Pyjamas. Immortals are doing their best to get this control in their way, but Psycho's gonna get a third. As PX progresses up the garage stairs, it just looks like continuous kills for Psycho as he gets a 4th kill. It's all down to Bullet, but Pino denies the ace. And Immortals lose yet another round. Beautiful play there from Psycho, and an excellent lockout from Nip.
All of that because there's no utility that is being brought at long range from Immortals. Many rounds now, we're not really seeing a Zofia get brought out, we're not seeing any frag grenades get brought, and because of the way that Ninjas are structuring their defense, they've done this without a Jaeger now a couple rounds. What this essentially means is that for Immortals, they could take full advantage of that, yet they're not. That is just a mistake on Immortals' side of things. We'll see if they make any changes here. They started out really strong and were basically able to kill all of the denial that was coming in from the defenders by just simply using fragging power. Now that they brought a Thatcher, it's going to be a lot easier for Immortals. So look at what we have in front of us. And there's lots of utility now that's being brought out from Immortals solely by that one change. Move Navi's off of the Twitch, off of the Ashe, onto the Thatcher. I like what it brings. And on a site over here on Gym, where you're going to have that Jacuzzi wall likely be your first point of contact unless Immortals decides to capture construction, which is now in the center of your screen. This Thatcher is going to make life a lot easier for Immortals. A lot more difficult for Ninjas and Pyjamas, whose only real course correction on their side of things is bringing a Jaeger. He's going to stop any air jabs and any of those smoke grenades that get tossed out from the Glaz, should Immortals try to use those. But last round, there really wasn't all that much utility from Immortals that was spent, and it was just simply a fragging fight between Nip and IMT that Nip prevailed quite well in.
So I agree with you. I like the Thatcher being brought here from Immortals. It means that you don't need to use Ashe Charge or Zofias on the castle barricades. You don't need to struggle with the ADSs. Instead, you want to open Jacuzzi wall? You throw Thatcher EMPs. Now, What it does mean, though, is that Psycho can contest that wall. If he's proficient at bandit tricking, there is a possibility that Psycho will be able to deny the Jacuzzi wall to his enemy. This is going really far back in terms of meta and the way it's likely to play out, considering the castle barricades are still there, and there is, again, a distinct lack of soft destruction, so they can't get through the castle barricades to deny the bandit tricks. That means they have to just kind of go with the Thatcher bandit trick juggle that used to be so prevalent way back in early Siege days. I feel like it's important to note that the community vote for this match was 45% for both teams and 10% on a draw.
Yeah.
We didn't get to bring it up at the beginning of the match, but that's a shockingly close vote. And I think it definitely is appropriate for such a match.
You know, are Immortals the space station of Latin America? They draw an awful lot. Only difference between them and Space Station is, and I don't mean this as a burn to Space Station, but Immortals does win more of their matches than SSG does. Given the fact that Immortals don't have a loss yet through the season.
It's true. They also have a lot of draws, though. It's true. I mean, and that's why right now, I mean, in terms of points, they're tied with Liquid, though, still in first place.
Now, there's active bandit tricking that's going on over on this Jacuzzi wall. As we speculated there would be, as that's been NiP's MO so far on defense, as they've been using Psycho quite aggressively on every single hard surface and reinforcement that NiP is putting up to stop Immortals. Who counters that? Thatcher. We pointed him out at the start of the round, but Navi's is not really close to the action. He has one of his EMPs left, as he can use it on that Jacuzzi wall. He now looks to finally be rotating, and there you go, it'll come out, but it might be a little too late, and Psycho trying to maybe get back in, as there's now a shield brought to stop that bandit from getting pushed. There's a lot of coverage there. Psycho still has one EMP left. He could possibly be able to bandit trick this wall, as he's fairly safe for the time being. The rest of Immortals will focus elsewhere, though, and a C4 gets tossed out, but Julio's missed throw will cost him that utility. And in his Navis, he just waltzes into the site. He picks up a kill, and he has full control of the bathroom. He's going to hunker himself down and essentially force NiP to try to retake, while coming tantalizingly close. A beautiful lean around the corner, as NiP will now find themselves salvaging a round that looked to be going bad in a hurry, but PX will try to keep it in tow for his team. Cyber working against these open mirror windows, cannot capitalize on the Psycho. M-King finds Wog. The bandit will lay prone. He gets a kill on the PX, as now Immortals are trapped inside of the bathroom, and NiP somehow pulls that round out. It looked dire for the Ninjas, but what a recovery, and a beautiful retake will give NiP their very first lead, as that's 3 rounds in a row for the Ninjas, and Immortals are stalling out after starting off this game so strong.
Great recovery there from Ninjas and Pyjamas, especially considering how prevalent those air jabs were. You could hear them detonating over and over again. Bullets seemed to have placed them all in the perfect locations to influence the round, yet at the same time, it just wasn't enough for Immortals. Great duo between Psycho and Pino to recover. Caught in a perfect crossfire, Immortals just couldn't win those gunfights. Despite having the advantage in terms of positioning, it just was perfect situation for the 2 German operators on NiP. Now, we will be going back down to the basement. The first attempted site, and now the last one for Ninjas and Pyjamas. We've got a 1-1 record here, and they're going to be bringing a little bit of a curveball. Kamikaze on the Clash. This is interesting. Clash is definitely a viable operator. It depends on how you play her, though, and not every team has a Clash player. Kamikaze going to be doing his best here, I'm sure. We've actually seen Clash be so very useful on this basement of Clubhouse before, in the past, before she got many changes applied to her. Don't know if she's going to be just as useful as she was then, but I think that she's got potential here, especially in the hands of Kamikaze. Twitch drone being brought, but used to zap Psycho down.
Very last time that these 2 teams squared off, Immortals actually banned Clash against Ninjas and Pyjamas.
Hi, Bullet.
So, unsurprising that we would possibly see NiP bring a Clash on in. Lucky for Immortals, they do have that Zofia, and they do have a Thatcher, both 2 tools that will be usable to maybe try and harm the damage that a good Clash can do. And I mean, it was only last week where we saw that remarkable recovery on the Clash playing on console. I believe it was in an EU in the LSE secret game.
Oh no, not this.
So
that was really unfortunate to watch.
it's a bikini body move.
Is that what that's called now?
So I will say that when that clip went live of that particular play from the Clash, every single person was like, "Oh, it's like bikini body," and it's like, "Oh, that's great. I'm glad that he has an impact." So
I didn't know that was learn something new every day.
yeah, I learned it as well. So, but for anybody that's unfamiliar, essentially what they did was the Clash basically spun, pulled a 180, put the shield on her back, and then did another 180, and essentially a full 360, and was able to get the kill. So that's just one thing that Kamikaze can possibly do. Is once again, it's the 6th round in a row of the Psycho show on his very successful bandit trick, something that has almost fallen out of vogue in Pro League because there's so many tools to stop a bandit from being able to successfully trick any hard destruction that you put on the wall.
But it seems not so for the Psycho, and he's been really doing it very well so far through this match. Kamikaze going to be contesting the dirt tunnel, and probably the best operator to do this, alongside Smoke, who is also probably one of the best operators to do this. So they've really locked up that dirt tunnel, and they're going to be forcing Immortals to seek other avenues. One thing that is important is there's a Zofia in play, so that's a good counter to the Clash Shield should that come to pass, should they come to meet.
Looks like history is going to repeat itself here as Immortals have decided that attacking the church side of this site is not really tenable. As there goes Pino. He gets a bit too aggressive onto the hatch. He'll lose his fight against M-King. Down goes the Jaeger, as now Nip will possibly try to hold off a Moto push. But here you have it. Immortals have now once again moved back, and they're going to decide to target this church site. Multiple smokes will go in, and it will basically be an avenue for Cyber to walk in amidst the cover of smoke, but Psycho picks him apart. A beautiful refrag for Nip as it comes a bit late. Kamikaze tagged on in to slow everybody down, giving information. Navi's takes one out. Julio another. M-King going for the plant as Julio pushes on up. You've got the Clash holding everybody down. The plant will fall off, and Immortals will be wrestling with time. Wog on a flank. He can possibly collect multiple kills. Gets one with the SMG. A second with the shotgun. Looking for a third. Wog will get them all. 3 big kills. And Ninjas in Pyjamas will put 4 in a row. What a rotate and information that has been given out to the Ninjas as they will stealth walk their way through that first half. They'll transition onto attack with a big 4-2 lead.
A huge play there from WAG, and great information, as you said. Kamikaze just relaying everything that was necessary to his team and to WAG specifically to make that play happen. Really got to give props to the teamwork there on the side of Ninjas in Pyjamas. A confusing play decision there from Immortals. They could have potentially gone for an Arsenal take, but what did they do? They late shifted to a Moto drop play, and there was just too much manpower from Ninjas in Pyjamas to stop that dead in its tracks. The dirt rotation as well, huge from both WAG and Kamikaze. They knew that they were not being very useful by Arsenal. They decided, let's rotate. It was perfect timing, and that initial frag, this is so important, the initial frag from Psycho onto the Glass is, I think, the difference maker in that entire round. Yes, it wasn't the most amazing thing to happen, but if Glass had entry fragged and got even one of those 2 anchors in church, we very likely would have seen an entirely different story, likely a retake from WAG and Kamikaze instead of a flank.
My speculation there was that somebody on Immortals, likely M-King, who was playing on that hard breach roll in the Thermite above, saw that Kamikaze was nestled by the entrance to dirt, and they didn't want to have to drop against the Clash. So what do they say? Hey, let's actually make a change. Let's go back over to Moto. We got a kill on a body that was Pino playing on the Jaeger, who was by blue, who could have gotten into Moto to possibly help him. There was a rotate there, which we knew that there was. So they lose Pino and they say, okay, well now the church site might actually be a little bit more exposed. We can hold off the Clash from being able to get on over to church. Let's make this rotate happen quickly. That would be my guess as to what the call was. Speculation on our part, sure. But it didn't end up working out all that well because Kamikaze and WAG were able to get back fast enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, relying on the speed there from the speed of the rotation of Kamikaze to be slow is too dangerous. And obviously, we could see that it didn't work out. But Immortals now get to go to their defensive half, and they're not going to have to make those specific decisions any longer as, well, totally different way of playing the game now. It's going to be contention on the main stairs. This is interesting to see from Navi's. We've been seeing him do a lot of aggressive things, and it's not going to pay off for him in this moment, as Pino will shut him down. This is excellent use of the buck from Pino. You've got to applaud him for that.
A tremendous waste of a smoke as well. I mean, we see smokes with that SAS shotgun play close range angles on stairs on a variety of different maps, but usually not Clubhouse. It's kind of strange to see you give away that much of the tools on your defending side in a smoke who can be so successful in shutting down any push. Now on Nip's side of things, they have no smokes, so you don't have to worry about a toxic canister from Navi's coming out to possibly slow you down. It's going to allow Nip a much freer entry in, and it also put a lot of pressure on the rest of the plant denial on Immortals, which will come in the name of C4s, to stop a plant from Nip should it go down.
Now, we've seen a lot of operators to contest the main stairs. Like, for example, Ella, maybe Mute. You know, you've got your options available to you, but you're right. Putting so much weight on Smoke. I mean, well, no one's putting weight on Smoke. Smoke just is that operator. And then not having him play sites, confusing. Oh, no, another potential pick here from Pino, and he's going to get it. That's 2 for him so far in this round, and he's just been doing so much work as this buck. A little bit of soft destruction and a lot of magic here from Pino, fragging out to get the picks that are so very powerful in this round. Already taken out the smoke, and now it's the Legion. That means less and less of those goo mines are going to be delaying the push. PX going to miss his C4 a little too premature there, and an unfortunate miss of the utility from Immortals. They are losing out on their denial. It
was a grenade that actually missed that could have easily claimed PX's life, as he's just playing now by the rest of this church wall. He's been droned out, another grenade is going to go on in, and there you go. Finally, PX is felled. This time by Psycho, though, is doing good work on both sides of the board. Plant going down from Wog as Nip does have full control. You'll hear the Vector of M King rip through Psycho, but still unabated. Wog will be able to get that diffuser down quite successfully over on church side. Immortals all completely contained on blue in the back of Arsenal. They are in a very tough position, but Cyber, a beautiful kill on the Kamikaze. He'll try to start things off. The next body that's going to be in his crosshairs is going to be Pino. Julio has been down, so it's essentially a glorified 1v2. And as Cyber just inches his way on up, he's blind on information, but he's looking for multiple bodies. There's a drone on him. He'll give his position away as you hear the carbine rattle off. All these angles held by the members of Ninjas in Pyjamas will aid them quite greatly. There's Wog. He goes for a bit of a pre-fire as he sees Cyber's body for just a split second, and as Cyber reemerges, it'll be Wog to cap off that round, 5 of which have now been strung together by Ninjas in Pyjamas, as they are just sailing on towards a guaranteed 1 point, or possibly the full 3, in just 2 rounds, possibly, for Nip.
This is seemingly Ninjas in Pyjamas just walking away with the match. I mean, 5 in a row? How do you deal with that as Immortals, especially considering 5 in a row, including a half transition? Usually that's going to break a little bit of the momentum, or at least blunt it, and give the team that is on the back foot a slight edge in this battle. But Immortals just couldn't make it happen. The bandit tricking by the church wall really wasn't that great. And the fact that got pushed off the wall by a Habana of all things, kind of surprising. Following that, I mean, all those, well, not following, but before even that, all those picks that were happening from Pino, I mean, man, Navi's playing on main stairs. Pino didn't need to do anything other than walk in the kitchen hallway and open up a little bit of floor using a skeleton key to get a free kill. And Navi's just didn't look up when he was rotating back. It's unfortunate to see this happen. Some serious misplays from Immortals, and ones you don't expect to happen at this stage. I mean, I don't know. Ninjas in Pyjamas are just looking better as of these last 5 rounds. It honestly looked like we were shaping up to have a one-sided match in favor of Immortals in the first 2 rounds, but the tides have certainly turned.
Now you see me, now you don't.
Another attempt here at the basement for Immortals. This will be, of course, 2 in a row. They're not going to mix things up. I find that curious. We saw Ninjas in Pyjamas just go from basement to gym to basement again when those weren't working, and they managed to eventually get to basement on their second try. But no mix-up at all from Immortals. They're just staying true.
I like the Kai pick coming out as well. He's very strong on this site in particular. He's great destruction with that shotgun. I think people kind of realize we refer to it as cheekily as a DMR, even though it is a slug shotgun with an ACOG on it. It's very strong.
It's a stealth DMR. It's a DMR.
And it brings a lot to the table. It's got an ACOG. It's got good destruction. It does pretty high damage. You know, there's no real worry about spread or anything because it is a slug. So you just really need to aim. I mean, sometimes it might not be able to get you all the kills you need. We saw that in North America, what was it, against the EG Rogue matchup just a couple days ago with Necrox not being able to get every single kill that he needed as Kaid, but that's okay. But if you look at NiP's side of things, at least they have a Thatcher on the board. And I know that we've highlighted Thatcher an awful lot. He is the 5th most banned attacker in Latin America. And as you can see, the most banned is Ying. Both of them are available here for NiP, and they're utilizing both of them. Of course, they will be applied in very different ways. We talk a lot about paralysis, about the way that you can paralyze a defense using a Clash, or the way that you can paralyze a defender using a Ying or a Glass, etc. Ying is going to be an exceptionally strong tool to basically just blind everybody and just run on in and take full advantage of the mayhem that you cause on site.
Breaching charges on Pino and the Thatcher EMPs are being used to clear out ADSs. Once those ADSs are cleared, Pino can pretty much blind an entire site and cut off rotation using his Candelas. He has to time it right, though, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's also curious. It seems like he's rotating over to Dirt Tunnel. Maybe they're going to just use the Candelas to take control of Dirt Tunnel. Feels like it might be a little bit of an overinvestment. There's a lot more potential to be had out of that utility, but if he's only going to use one in here, that's not going to break the bank.
Definitely looks like it's shaping up to be an Arsenal take here, as we're just under a minute left in a very pivotal round that will move Ninjas in Pyjamas to match point should they prove to be successful. And any possible hindrance for Pino inside a Dirt Tunnel will at least be removed for the time being, as it's just going to be a completely blind path as PX will push on in. I don't know why the Kaid took that fight, despite the Candela going off. 2 for NiP on the board now, as down goes Cyber as well. It's going to be very difficult for Immortals. They have shifted their numbers over towards the back of Arsenal, correctly reading that this is where the push will come from Ninjas in Pyjamas. But it should be a joint effort here onto the Legion, a bullet who falls to Kamikaze. That's a lot of utility expended, but very worthwhile. We'll leave Navi's playing at this hatch. We'll trade off Kamikaze, but Pino is in sight and full control for NiP into Arsenal, as this looks like an impossible task for M King as he continuously retreats. But there's no diffuser for NiP.
No!
This is very winnable. M King has it, but no, at the last second, a miracle from Wog, knowing that Ninjas in Pyjamas had to go kill hunting, and they'll land the big one. You go fishing, and you hook your prey at the very final second. Ninjas in Pyjamas move to match point in astonishing fashion, and Wog, the hero, at the last second, and a round that for Immortals looked all but certain will fall apart as that clock strikes midnight.
Wog with the big plays here today, and it's been very impressive showing for him. I really can't believe that he landed that shot at the last moment. Could you imagine if that final Immortals player just inches into cover, doesn't give the opportunity to his opponent, doesn't take the fight, just stays safe, plays it off the time? It's all over at that point. But a mistake was made, and Wog was there to capitalize. And yet again, Ninjas in Pyjamas surprise us. 6 rounds in a row against the first place team in Latin America, Immortals. Immortals are going to have to sort things out pretty soon here, or it'll be a complete sweep, possibly a 7-2. But it looks like we have ourselves a rehost. So the momentum will be likely completely broken. Have the conclusion of this match, whether it is this round or in any of the ensuing rounds, it's coming. And Immortals trying to break the momentum that Ninjas in Pyjamas have built up over the last 6 rounds in a row.
Now, you've got for Immortals 2 hard breach denials in the hands of Navi's on mute and M King on Kaid. That'll immediately be pushed off, though, from the fact that Ninjas in Pyjamas have a Thatcher. So unless there's going to be some shrewd Electro Claw tricking on the wall, it's very likely that that hard breach denial from Immortals will fall by the wayside very fast. Additionally, if the EMPs are of no use, you can always put a Buck or a Zofia underneath, both operators that are present in Ninjas in Pyjamas lineup, in the hands of both Psycho and Pino. And Pino has been doing just extraordinary work on both the Ying as well as the Buck. We noted, well, you noted rather, that the Ying that was being played by Pino had breaching charges that essentially allowed that soft destruction from above to be able to put pressure on Kitchen. And of course, when you are, as an attacker, attacking the Arsenal side by the Kitchen hatch, soft destruction is really important to push out the defenders. If you don't have a Buck or a Sledge, you can bring a Zofia with breaching charges. We've seen G2 do that in the hands of Pengu, or you can do it on a Ying, as Ninjas in Pyjamas did in the hands of Pino. Now, you've got a Buck here for NiP, but they're going to be going and attacking that cache CCTV. A run out for Bullet, and it's going to capitalize. He just pummels Kamikaze as Bullet doesn't take a single point of damage, gets right back inside. If you find yourself trailing, as Immortals are, that's a perfect opportunity to knock your opponents on their heels and also take out a very pivotal operator from NiP, which is the Thermite, that will no longer be present for this round.
Luckily for NiP, not the most pivotal operator. They've brought both of the available hard destructors, but oh no, it looks like MKing has just taken out 2 of the Excaros that WAG just kind of haphazardly threw on the wall. I'm not sure what he was thinking there. Maybe he was thinking there's no bandit, or I don't know. But there goes 2 Excaros, and now he only has 1 set. That means that the server wall, in all likelihood, just won't be opened. Done deal. Unfortunate there for Ninjas in Pyjamas. I was going to say not the most pivotal operator, because that's probably Thatcher in this situation, but now that WAG hasn't played the hard destruction game at all, expecting to have it for free, well, yeah, this is a serious problem for Ninjas in Pyjamas, not having any ability to open the server wall.
It's been one of the best games that we've actually seen from WAG here in regards to Pyjamas. He's really put in a tremendous performance, given the fact that he typically lags behind most of NiP in their contributions on the scoreboard, but we always say that the scoreboard doesn't necessarily show a full story. I think that applies perfectly for NiP, and WAG is usually on that supporting role, though we've seen some flexibility from the Ninjas to move him on to more aggressive roles. Doesn't really matter what role he's playing here, though, because he's doing quite well to be able to get the kills needed while also using his utility smartly. Pino, though, has also been a standout. He's going to continue on, taking out Navis, as you hear an awful lot of soft destruction going on around Immortals. We'll have to vacate the site, as Bullet will do. Heads on downstairs, and we'll head up towards the lounge stairs, knowing that there's a buck nearby. A beautiful shot as Pino dodges right into it, but immediately Psycho is able to eliminate Bullet and put us back at an even game.
That's where you're missing those air jabs down at the bottom of the cache stairs. Not bringing the Nomad is definitely something that I'm sure Ninjas in Pyjamas are regretting in this moment. But at least Psycho got the refrag, as you stated, very important. Sees the foot of the Legion, can't land enough shots, and oh no, Cyber wins that fight out. Just a little bit more HP and no headshots being landed allows Cyber to have the advantage and win the fight. Flashes up the main stairs, and he might be able to win this fight. Great frag from WAG, but MKing there to get it back. Julio entering into cache, though, will take out Cyber before MKing gets another refrag. Great hold at the top of cache stairs from MKing, putting that DMR shotgun to its best and clutching out the round.
It just does so much damage, right?
Yeah. I think that's also the first time we've seen Immortals take a defensive round. So yay them.
It's the first time that we've seen Immortals win in 7 rounds.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Not to pile on what's been a bad game so far from Immortals, but that was still a little too close for my liking between these 2 teams. It really came down to essentially what was a 1v1 between MKing and Julio, and it could have gone either way. It could have easily been a checkmark in the column for NiP that would have secured them the victory. Now Immortals will have yet another tough task ahead of them, which is to win 3 more rounds in a row. We've already seen NiP string together 6 rounds. Not as impressive as the 7 rounds in a row from the Chaos victory over Penta just last Friday, but it was close to a second 7-0 over 7 rounds, given the fact that Immortals was unable to break NiP's momentum. NiP, incidentally, might have actually broken their own momentum, having to go to that rehost after Pino dropped, so that's something that we'll keep an eye on, because it does allow teams to talk amongst themselves, maybe cool their heads off if they need to, if they're heated or possibly disheartened, as I would imagine Immortals was after going down 6 rounds in a row.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but that was a really, really great timing there for Immortals. If we're looking at it,
it wasn't even Immortals who disconnected. It was somebody on the other side.
No, it wasn't. No, of course. But I'm saying great timing. Now, Immortals setting up for the basement hold, and they have yet to win this hold after trying it twice in a row. The first 2 defensive rounds of the second half. It's been a struggle for them. There's been several different things done by NiP to counter the way that Immortals have been holding this, and actually mistakes being made on both sides. One thing that's really interesting is that instead of a Ying, we see a Glass being brought by Psycho. Now, Psycho is, I would say, one of the more famous Glasses out there. He really does land his shots on that DMR, so this is not very surprising at all, and you can expect him to be very efficient when entering, likely through Moto or Dirt.
Some of the most pivotal operators that NiP rode to prominence under were Blitz and Glaz, and they don't really play either of them that much anymore, which is kind of surprising. I mean, it was Ninjas in Pyjamas who opted to get their skin on Glaz's DMR. So obviously showing and enshrining how much of an important operator he is to the team.
I mean, Joystick Ash, right?
Right. But I mean, at this point, she's lost her ACOG. You have to make some changes. Really haven't seen a lot of changes to Blitz. It just might be a comfort pick here for Julio's. He's been playing other operators. They've been putting him on more of a support role. Briefly, they had him on Hard Breach earlier, but it wasn't really working out all that well for NiP, and I think they made the right choice to move him off to support. Now, we saw a Kaid trick possibly going down as that Electroclaw was in the hands of M-King, who's sitting in blue, possibly able to stop any hard destruction that would go onto the panel in blue that was above. Looks for the time being that he's still there, just very patiently waiting his Electroclaw is out. So if there's an EMP that will go off from Julio that will allow access from Ninjas in Pyjamas to get that hatch, he'll be there to greet them. That's not really the case. WOG is full rotating, and it looks like this might be a church push, as both teams are, for the time being, trying to figure out what the other is doing. This is going to be a waltz between both Immortals and Ninjas in Pyjamas, as there goes a frag grenade. It'll blow up at the heels of Navi. He's taking a little bit of damage down. The EMP will catch the C4 of PX, and that could be a crucial blow. But there goes the Electroclaw to stop the X-Kairos from going off, and M-King in that position, essentially able to hold two angles. Excellent play from Immortals there to prevent any pressure going onto those two panels in Church.
That was about to be a lot of pressure onto Church, just completely denied by M-King. Excellent job with the Electroclaw. Bullet misses his C4 and a lot of his shots, but lands at least one of them on Tapino, putting him on somewhat lower HP, though still plenty to win a gunfight, especially using that C8. The real problem here for the attack is time, and they're pushing Psycho in, using his smokes, but he's got so little HP, just breath will take him down, and he's not landing his shots through the wall. No, 2, now 3 for Immortals. Julio gets the first for his team, but Cyber will continue adding to the death count. Julio another for himself, but it's all him against 3, and he's got to push through Moto Door. This is an unwinnable fight. M-King gets another one, and Immortals will lock out their basement defense.
2 in a row for Immortals now, and much more convincing. That was just really a case where that round was won by M-King inside of blue. Straightforward. He uses one Electroclaw on the hatch late into the round that prevents utility from being used on blue, that essentially keeps blue in control of Immortals, meaning that Ninjas in Pyjamas need to completely rotate around as they can't pressure almost half of the site. There was very minimal interest on dirt from Ninjas in Pyjamas, and with blue going in favor of Immortals due to that Electroclaw, you basically have to go for a church push at that point. There was nowhere else for NiP to dump their utility. So, as they make the rotate, M-King is still in a very powerful position in that blue spot to be able to throw the Electroclaw all the way towards the wall, something that Bandit can't do. He can't throw his charges. That Electroclaw gets thrown all the way onto the wall. It not only saves the mirror window, but also the 2 panels inside of Church. Yes, you do lose a 3rd panel. The Electroclaw is unable to cover all 3. But that one play by M-King single-handedly changed the entire outcome of that round for Immortals. And they'll look to have maybe some more individual plays here, as they still have 2 more rounds if they want to go for a draw and stave off their very first loss of the season.
See a Blitz being brought here by WAG. That's quite interesting. You were mentioning how it was Blitz and Glass earlier that Ninjas in Pyjamas used quite a lot in the past, and they seem to have started to push away from that. Likely because they felt maybe that they were being pigeonholed and countered directly as a result of their operator selection. Maybe it's something else. Whatever the case, it's starting to come out again from Ninjas in Pyjamas. It was the Glass first on Psycho, now it's the Blitz here on WAG. It's quite interesting to see. I'm curious where the Blitz is actually going to be used in this round. We do have a Thatcher, a Thermite, and a Zofia, so they can counter the bandit tricking that M-King is putting up here on the Jacuzzi wall through all different means. Clearing out the ADSs and the batteries using the Thatcher. Psycho opens up the castle barricades using, looks like, his breach charges, as well as his lifeline on the further one. He will also have a lifeline available for the shield. It's possible Cyber will try to ADS juggle, and there it is. Beautiful ADS juggle there from Cyber. So it's not necessarily a given that NiP are aware there's now an ADS in play. That might waste the one lifeline that could be so important because of that shield.
just very small things that often go unnoticed that can change the tide of an entire round, or at least the utility that is put out here from the attackers. There goes one EMP and another will get dropped down now, and M King will just be hit by 2 of the concussive mines from Zofia, which will essentially concede this wall. So M King will now have to be a little bit more aggressive. He almost lands enough shots, but doesn't hit a single one. Just waiting by this open panel. He's going to get double drone. He's got some backup in bathroom at the mirror window, but he's going to flirt with this shield. Pushes on in, but there's a blitz there. As Wog gets the kill on M King, will start things off. Possibly going for a blind on the opposite side of this mirror window as Cyber is just nestled inside a bathroom. A minute and a half to go.
This is a great spot for Cyber, and M King losing his life there. Really, truly unfortunate for Immortals. He didn't really have an option. This is why you usually open up a rotation into the bathroom, but not something that Immortals opted to here. Cost them one of their players. It's only a minute here for Immortals to hold out, and they still got control of cash, which gives them some good potential for a retake in the round later, as well as rotations. As you can see, Navi's drops through the workshop, drop down, and takes out Pino, the buck from below. That's an excellent frag and is going to alleviate pressure on the anchors, especially in these dying seconds of the round. That is huge for Immortals.
Very singular defense, though, from Immortals, with the exception of Cyber, as all of the rest of that team are either off-site or playing inside of construction. And oh, down goes Wog. I guess he exposes just enough of the blitz for Cyber to be able to capitalize. There's another body in that Cyber could possibly get, as there's very limited focus on this Jaeger inside of the bathroom. They can't really do much from Ninjas in Pyjamas to take him out. Navi's is next in the line of fire, as he could possibly greet multiple members of Ninjas in Pyjamas, but he misses his shots. And when you don't land them, that's the kind of thing that's going to happen. Danger knocking at the door here as Nip will head towards the main doorway in, but Immortals perfectly placed to stop every single one of them, and it's going to be at the end of a shotgun that this round finds itself. Bullet being the person to keep their 3rd round in a row for Immortals here on the board, and we will head towards the very final round. Almost unthinkable 4 rounds ago that we would see Immortals being able to bring this one back, but really showing off the staying power that this roster has to go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in Latin America, some of the best teams in the world. And Nip struggling to find the additional 2 points and break themselves out of a draw and advance to one of the spots in the playoffs.
We've seen crazier things before, but I think it would have been a crime if this didn't actually come down to a draw with a 45-45-10 on the community vote. It is, I think, proving to be one of the closest matches in all of Latin America, and rightfully so. These teams will be going to cash for the final round of this match. Immortals have made it work before. In fact, it was the very first round that they won on defense. And we'll see if they can make it work again. Though, it's important to note, last time Immortals were here, it was a clutch, technically 1 versus 1 for M King. Managed to put up some serious frags in that round and really just hold it together from cash stairs. Again on the Kaid. It's going to be on that roll once more. See if he can do the same work with that DMR shotgun. 2 ADS is being placed in the garage. Actually, wait a minute, is it the AUG on the Kaid? Did he switch things up? I can't quite tell, but it looked as if it were. We'll find out as the match transpires, but an interesting change considering how well he was doing with the DMR shotgun earlier. Now he's putting up some cameras, and again, the lack of an IQ. Again, it's so curious that there's no IQ when Valkyrie is one of the most played operators on defense, but that is the case, and Thatcher's still in play. Maybe Thatcher's going to be able to at least detect one of the cameras by chance. They get a lot louder, and they make some lights flare when you hit one of the Valkyrie cams. So it's a manner, in a manner of speaking, it's a way to detect the cameras.
Yeah. Here's a difference as well with the double frag grenades being brought for the first time in this matchup. You're going to have both Psycho and Pino holding these operators that have explosives in their hands. Got the AUG, so there you go. You got the DMR shotgun on Kaid's hands. As all of this reinforcement that was set up on the cache wall, or on the CCTV wall rather, be completely destroyed.
That's a really early wall there, and I think the first time we've actually seen that in this match, server wall has been hotly contested by the defenders, but not so here in this round.
The one good thing for Immortals is that they've put quite a bit of focus on those garage panels beneath them, and none of them have been targeted from Nip so far. essentially means that both Cyber and M-King, who are inside of that garage, will allow themselves to basically persist until the end of the round, providing Nip doesn't put more pressure on them. Perfect opportunity for a frag grenade to get tossed up there, but with the Jaeger on the board from Bullet, it's very likely that Immortals have some salvation should a grenade find itself in their proximity.
It looks as though the workshop wall was not reinforced, and Pino was able to open it because of that. Very surprising to see that from Immortals. Usually you would see that wall reinforced and force some hard destruction to come over to that position, and if nothing else, be used up. I'm surprised about that from the defense.
There's two things that are going to happen with M-King and Cyber playing off-site is either they're going to be the last two alive and are essentially going to be in a no-win situation, or they are going to be extremely pivotal at pushing out of that spot to shut down Nip. But Nip is taking their sweet, sweet time. We saw a rotate from M-King as the Kaid has fallen off and is on a deep roam downstairs, unsure of any possible flank watch that might be there from Ninjas in Pyjamas, worried about a possible push from Armory. That's going to be a reinforcement from M-King, who will now find his way up towards Garage and heading on over towards the red stairs. This is very one-dimensional from Immortals, but they have a crossfire opportunity. As a grenade goes in, PX will falter and then eventually fall. He's down but not out. Bullet does not have an opportunity to possibly pick him back up, as it looks like Nip will have 15 seconds with which to just break on through. Bullet will take out Pino, trade it off immediately, and impact goes out from Cyber. But where is Nip? Where is your push coming from? Kamikaze eliminates PX, and it's going to be a volley as there's Psycho. Nip will need to work with 5 seconds left, diffuser going down, but does M-King have the opportunity? He will! Oh my god, and Immortals in the final second will repay Ninjas in Pyjamas. And what a play from M-King to push his team into a draw. And no losses for Immortals through 10 weeks. They do the unthinkable. They put 4 rounds in a row on the board. Ninjas in Pyjamas letting those extra 2 points slip through their fingers, and still sitting atop the Latin America standings will be Immortals.
What a match. Jeez. I mean, it was effective. I would say that was the perfect match. We saw two amazing teams going against each other, expectations high for both of them, and clutches here and just all over the place. M-King in that second half came alive, especially on Cash, specifically on Cash. He clutched it the first time, he clutched it the second time. Huge plays there from the Kaid, and just overall, big plays from Ninjas in Pyjamas, from WAG. I mean, we saw Psycho had some really amazing rounds as well. Navi's even, on Immortal. So it's just constant back and forth here for these teams in terms of individual performances.
And I mean, you can't discredit WAG's contributions as well. I think the real story of this match was how much fragging potential the support players could bring.
Yeah.
There were a lot of players on both of these teams who aren't usually tasked with topping the scoreboard, but they really made their contributions known in terms of what they could do with their gadgets and in terms of what they could do with their gun skill. So, Immortals gives us an exciting showing, closing that gap between Ninjas in Pyjamas and not allowing the first loss to pile up, or at least grow in the column, for IMT. It's a big 1 point for them, and it's a lost opportunity for Ninjas in Pyjamas, who might look back if they fail to make it to the playoffs as an opportunity wasted. But that's only match number 1. We've got an exciting second matchup between Team Liquid and FaZe Clan. That'll be up in just a couple minutes, but first, a short break, and then we'll be back with more action.